We live in a world obsessed with consensus, obsessed with being politically correct. We are taught to blend in, to soften our edges, to keep the peace. But what happens when the truth you see doesn't quite fit the consensus? What happens when your honesty shakes the very foundation of the room? Today we explore the story of a woman who chose to be outspoken. She didn't just find her voice, she found a distinctive and a brave way to use it. And that earned her a place as a truth teller. This is a story of Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie and the power of becoming brave. She once said, "We teach our girls to shrink themselves." But Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie never learned that lesson. She was born to speak, and she spoke in a way the world couldn't possibly ignore. Yet, what most people don't see is that finding her voice was only the beginning. Long before the awards and the global applause, there was a girl in Nsukka who wouldn't stop asking, why? Why must women eat last? Why does silence define obedience? Why must a woman's brilliance be apologized for? Those questions shaped her. It shaped her as a writer and as an indispensable witness to culture.
In my family, I was the child who wanted to know the story of who we are. I was the child who found a certain romance in our history, who felt nostalgia for things that I had not experienced. I was the child who sharpened very early on the skill of eavesdropping. I do not know a time when I was not drawn to story, to human emotion, to human motivation. So this is all I have ever known, this longing, this sense of being always one step removed, one step apart and watching, always watching.
At 19, she left the shores of Nigeria for America and carried with her her stories, her accent, and her audacity. In classrooms where her name was mispronounced, she spoke up and set the record straight. When she began writing, her goal wasn't fame. Her focus was to tell the truth. Her novels became cultural mirrors. Purple Hibiscus, a story of faith and unbroken hope. Half of a Yellow Sun, a story of war and human resilience. Americana, a story of identity and belonging. But it was her public voice, her talks, her essays that became an anthem. Her TED Talk, "We All Should Be Feminists," became a global statement, sampled by Beyoncé and studied worldwide.
We teach girls to shrink themselves, to make themselves smaller. We say to girls, you can have ambition, but not too much. You should aim to be successful, but not too successful, otherwise you will threaten the man. Because I am female, I'm expected to aspire to marriage. I'm expected to make my life choices, always keeping in mind that marriage is the most important. But why do we teach girls to aspire to marriage and we don't teach boys the same? We raise girls to see each other as competitors, not for jobs or for accomplishments, which I think can be a good thing, but for the attention of men.
Yet with that immense reach came inevitable friction, because the louder she spoke, the more the world tried to decide who she was allowed to be. To speak differently is to invite misunderstanding. For every quote that inspired millions, another was dissected, debated, or weaponized. People call her brave, but bravery is not the absence of fear. It is a commitment to speak even when you are afraid. There are moments she stood entirely alone. misquoted, criticized, judged. But she kept her voice steady. For Chimamanda, truth was never a trend to follow. It was a principle to defend. Behind the confident voice is a woman who loves her family fiercely. She rises at night and calls herself a storyteller before an activist. Chimamanda once said, "I don't want to be a saint, I want to be honest." In her honesty, she didn't thrive to be politically correct. Rather, she aimed to simply tell her truth. Chimamanda reminds us that bravery is not always loud. Sometimes, it is simply graceful defiance. She speaks differently because she thinks differently. And she thinks differently because she feels and observes deeply.
Feminism is about justice for everyone, but you have to name a problem. And the problem is it's women who've been excluded, so we need to call it what it is.
Her voice has made essential space for others, writers, feminists, daughters, to speak their truth even when it is not comfortable. Chimamanda did not set out to be everyone's hero. She simply refused to be anyone's echo. We often confuse bravery with battle, but sometimes bravery is a quiet balance between conviction and truth. Chimamanda teaches us that it is not enough to speak. You must speak distinctively and truthfully. And in doing so, she taught millions that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to remain authentic in a world that rewards conformity. Becoming brave is not about being louder. It is about being true to yourself. Our Azara today has been Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. We have explored the story of her bravery, of her speaking truth to power. Join us on our next episode as we uncover another Azara. Till we meet again. Ciao.